Hi, everyone. My name is Prathima Kodarasan, and I am the Assistant Director of Selection for Urban Teachers. Welcome to the selection webinar. I'm going to walk through a little bit of the details of the program and then each step of the application process and give you some tips, some strategies, and a little overview of what the task itself would be like, and then see if you guys have any questions for me to answer for you. So let's go on to the next slide. As you guys know, there's no more important education reform than a teacher quality. So we know that the best way to have impact in a student's lives is to go into the classroom and be that great leader themselves. So that's the work that we do at Urban Teachers, and we want to make sure that we are preparing a great teacher every time. We want to ensure that all of our students succeed. Urban Teachers is preparing a pipeline of game-changing teachers to stay in the classroom. If you want to look at some of our dynamics of our program, we started in 2010 with 39 residents. We have over 500 teachers now. We started with 11 partner schools. We're over at 93 in 2015. And then we're serving around 1,600 students. Now we're over the 15,000 mark. We also have Dallas-Fort Worth as a city that we opened in 2016, and we're excited to keep growing and adding more. For some of our dynamics of who is actually in our program, you can see that we accept around 58% of our cohort members that actually started with us in June last year. We're 58% of color. 30% actually came from the region, so we go all over the country looking for great teachers to come to DC, Baltimore, and Dallas-Fort Worth. The average GPA is around a 3.3. Almost 40% of our candidates are first-generation college graduates, and most of our candidates, or 44% of our candidates, enter with at least 1 to 3 years of experience. We do take candidates that come straight from undergrad, but we do take other candidates to do Peace Corps, Fulbright, City Year, any gap year programs that then realize their investment to urban education and come join us in that way as well. Our model is a 4-year model. So 1 year is a residency program where you're actually working at your schools during the day and then doing your coursework at Hopkins during the afternoon. So you actually work in 4 different urban settings, and then you are implementing your coursework from Hopkins from an expert faculty member that's teaching you the curriculum and applying it into each of these settings. It takes 2 years to complete your master's degree, so 80% happens during this residency year while you're in other classrooms working. But when you are a full-time teacher that second year, you are finishing the rest of your master's degree and earning it from Hopkins School of Ed in either elementary education, secondary literacy, or secondary math. We offer 3 years of one-on-one coaching, so that's very special to our program. You'll see usually with some programs, they offer maybe 1-2 years of support. We are continually invested in you guys from the residency year all the way through our program and offer 3 years of coaching. That's over 100 hours of tailored one-on-one coaching from some of our clinical faculty who are also teaching you the curriculum. And then we do ask you guys to invest in 4 years of working in urban schools. We know that our schools need great teachers, and so we do our work to train you for those first 3 years, and we want you to really commit to be that great teacher at that school for 4 years, which is higher than most other programs are asking, but we're truly invested in our community and the work that we do. So like I said, we do have Hopkins as a school of ed. It's ranked number 2 in the country right now. And no matter if you're in DC, Baltimore, or Dallas-Fort Worth, you will actually earn a master's from Johns Hopkins University. Our coursework is all in person, so you will be spending your days at your school sites where you know that you will most likely have a job at that school the following year. But you spend your afternoons and nights in coursework settings located in DC, Baltimore, or Dallas-Fort Worth. Your classes are in person with other cohort members taught by clinical faculty, but your grade books are online, which will translate to the master's no matter where we grow and where we expand. I should also go back really quickly and say that this is a clinical-based master's degree program. So you are learning the content in your coursework, but your assignments, your key assignments, are actually to go back into your school and implement them, get the data, do the reflections, try them multiple times, and grow from them. So we don't think that coursework and experience should be 2 separate things. We really want to integrate them together. Another big one last year is that we are now an AmeriCorps affiliate program, which means that you are eligible for 2 single AmeriCorps Education Awards, which can be over $11,000 that you can give back towards your student loans. AmeriCorps is a great alumni program to be a part of, so we're really happy to be a part of this group and then also be able to give you some of the benefits of being an AmeriCorps alum. And then our 4-year program. So this is where most of my work happens. I'm part of the selection and admissions. So the basic requirements that you need is a bachelor's degree, some experience with kids. We do ask for a minimum of a 3.0 GPA for you to be results-oriented, resilient, reflective, and be able to commit for the 4 years. So when I'm looking for an applicant, I'm really making sure that some of these qualities are coming. You'll see that none of it says that you have to be a hired teacher before. We don't look for teaching experience. We look for experience with kids in leadership because we do a lot of that work to train you on how to be a great teacher in that classroom. If you get through the selection process, year 1, you actually are in your residency program. So again, the 4 different classrooms, you begin your master's degree, which is again 80% of your curriculum. To continue on in our program, you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA, which is a B- or higher. You have to meet our teaching practice expectations. So we have a teacher practice rubric, and our expectations are that you, throughout your time here, increase in improvement. So we slowly open that to you starting in summer, and then your first classroom at your school setting, and then your second classroom. So by the time you finish the residency year, you've seen every single part of the teacher practice rubric, and you've also been increasing in moving further along on this rubric. And the second part, or the last part, is that you demonstrate high levels of growth mindset and professionalism. So we, again, are not looking for hired full-time teachers ready to go into the classroom. We're looking for novice teachers that are really excited to learn how to become a great teacher, especially in the challenging environments in the schools that we work in. So we do expect a high level of growth mindset and professionalism because you are representing yourself, our program, your students, the parents, and the school. If you get through the first year, you actually are going to be a hired teacher in year 2 for teaching. So it's your first year as a teacher in your own classroom, and you finish and earn your master's degree from Hopkins. You do need to maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher. You need to increase and improve on the teaching practice rubric and continue that demonstrated levels of high growth mindset and professionalism. Year 3. Is your second year teaching in the classroom, and we translate your teaching experience, your master's coursework for you to earn a certification and licensure. We have 3 programs to study. Our 3 programs to study are elementary education, so pre-K to 5th grade, secondary literacy, so 6th grade to 12th grade English teachers, and then secondary math, which is 6th grade to 12th grade math teachers. So you will earn a certification for that, but on top of that, you also will earn a special education certification because we do train you to be knowledgeable in special education as well, no matter what program or what grade level you teach. So you get the certification if you demonstrate abilities in student achievement. So we do ask on average a year's growth, and we work with you years 1 and year 2 to be able to get there in year 3. And we also encourage you, or we need you to meet increasing teaching practice expectations and continue the growth mindset and professionalism. Year 4 is probably my favorite year in the program. This is your 3rd year teaching. You've done your master's coursework. You've earned your certification. It's exactly what you want to be at the end of this year is that teacher. So you guys are usually like department chairs, lead instructors. You facilitate professional learning or professional development at your school settings. You're summer mentors for us. You audit classrooms. You can be a graduate assistant in our classrooms. There's many opportunities for year 4. So when I meet people early on in selection and residency year, there's a lot of people that want to be soccer coaches and SGA or do all this other exciting work in the school, that the things that they're committed to do. Years 1 and 2 are really about your teaching process. Years 3 and especially year 4 is that time that you can actually do those things that you promised or you were excited to do in that year 1. So let's go into the steps of becoming an urban teacher. So there's 7 steps to success in order to get through the selection process and actually enter our program. The first step is pretty easy, just learning more. Watching this webinar is definitely a really good head start to it. There's also other webinars that I have available for you, and I'll show it to you before we end today, with just opportunities to meet current teachers and residents in our program, so you can watch a Q&A. There's a general webinar that goes into detail about our program and how the 4-year model really works. I gave a quick abbreviated version for you. There's finance options, so you can see how the finances with the Hopkins master's degree works. So there's a ton of ways that you can actually engage, and I'll go into a couple more in a second. And once you're excited and know that you really want to apply to our program, the first step that you're going to want to do is submit an online application. We take around 5 to 10 days to review your application, and if you do move forward, we ask you to complete a digital performance task. A digital performance task is very similar to a phone interview, but this is actually, instead of scheduling it and trying to work your busy schedules with our busy schedules, you guys can do these online on your own time. It takes around 45 to 60 minutes to complete. If you do move past that, we will let you know within 5 to 10 days again. And you guys can sign up for an in-person interview. We do virtual interviews, we do in-person interviews. We try to go all over the country to meet you guys in person, so you get to learn about our staff, sometimes meet our residents if you come to DC, Baltimore, Dallas, Fort Worth, where we are located, meet our site teams, and do job shadow days and get really involved to understand what our program is, to know at the in-person interview if this program is a really good fit for you. So once you attend an in-person interview, we again will let you know within 5 to 10 days whether you've made it past that part of the program, and then you actually enter our enrollment stage. So once you get accepted into our program, we do need to enroll you into it. So that includes taking state exams, applying to Johns Hopkins with us, and then also submitting transcripts from after you finish your bachelor's degree. And then we get you ready for June. So each site starts at a different date. Dallas is probably going to be on the earlier side of June. Baltimore is probably going to be on the later side of June. And I think DC should be around June 19th, June 20th for them to start. So learning more. Here are some options that we do have for you. I will show you before we head off the Help Center. The Help Center has a ton of information for you. It's where the webinars are. It's where the eligibility requirements are. The frequently asked questions that you can have answers. There's application tips and instructions to sort of walk you through it as you're going through the process. You can go on the online application and save, so you don't feel like you need to finish it in one sitting, but the Help Center can really have, it has a search button to help answer any questions that you might have. Participate or watch webinars. So again, this is a webinar, as much as there's more webinars that fit direct topics that might be of interest to you. Attend info sessions or national events. We are recruiting all over the country. So we have an events calendar. I can show that to you before we head off to, of all the events all over the place that we're going to. So come meet us, chat with our recruiters, ask them the tough questions. We're ready to make sure that we know and you know that this is a good fit for you. You can attend a job shadow day. We have them at least once a month in each of the cities that we host. You get to go see a class or a couple of teachers in their first, second, third year, fourth year in the program. You also can audit our coursework and see what the JHU curriculum looks like, have lunch with residents, ask them the questions you're afraid to ask us. You can meet our site teams, our executive directors, our assistant directors, see the work that they do, so that you would know by the end of that day, it's a day in the life of a resident, and you can actually know if it's a good fit for you. You can speak to a recruiter online, or you can even email admissions with any specific questions that you might have, so that we can help direct and answer your questions as quickly as possible. So before you start an application, do make sure that you take the time to learn a little more about our programs and the opportunities we provide. And if you do have follow-up questions, we hope that we have multiple opportunities for you to be able to get those answered. So the basic requirements to start an application is you need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident with at least a 10-year visa. You need to have a bachelor's degree by June of 2017 in order to start with us for the 2017 cohort. If it is after that, then we do ask you to look into joining us for June 2018. And then we do require a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. I do have underneath here some of the qualifications for people that do have below a 2.0 or 3.0 GPA. If you are between a 2.75 and 2.99, we do encourage you to still apply if you're a first-generation college goer, your last 2 years of college was at least a 3.0 GPA, you're part of our group memberships like City Year or Jumpstart or Breakthrough Collaborative that already work in the high needs communities and give many hours, extensive amount of hours to children and youth in urban communities. For DC and Dallas-Fort Worth, we can go as low between a 2.5 and a 2.74. For STEM majors, if you have any work teaching math or working in STEM content, we can look at you and allow it for that. Or if you're currently serving as a paraprofessional with one of our school partners. If you're not currently serving as a paraprofessional in our school partners and have a GPA between 2.5 and 2.74, I would definitely consider you entering those school districts as paraprofessionals so that the following year you can be considered to apply. So submitting an online application. This will actually take around 1 to 2 hours to complete. I would suggest that you actually get it done 2 to 3 weeks before a final interview date that you wish to attend. So some of the tasks within it are to submit general information and academic history, list all the experiences with children in leadership that you have, and submit a 350 to 650 word essay. The tips I have for you is that the essay is probably the hardest part for our candidates to finish, so get the rest of that information done. That should take maybe 30 minutes. The majority of your time will be to work on the essay. We do want you to have a strong essay, check for your spelling and grammar, have other people proofread it if you need to, and then also include your passion and experiences with working with inner city urban children. We do not expect you to have any teaching experience to apply. So when you're thinking about your experiences, think about when you tutored or mentored or worked with a community. Those are all things that we get excited about and encourage. So including any experiences working with the community and children. Also leadership, if you're a manager, if you taught a class, if you're a camp counselor, those are really good experiences where you are standing up for leadership, which is important when you're leading your own classroom. And then knowing our program, it's really nice to know that people are familiar that we are a four-year model, that we offer a lot of support and preparation, that we have a special education certification on top of the general one that you would earn, the 3 programs to study, whatever is really interesting you in the program itself, we love to know what that actually is. So definitely make sure when you're talking in your essay and when you meet a candidate or meet a recruiter or anybody you're interviewing, make sure you know our program. This is what the application does look like. I put a little basic one for me. It has 12 steps to review, general information, address, how you found out about our program, which city you're interested in, the choice of which program to study. We do ask you all these questions on the application, your eligibility requirements, the U.S. citizen, that kind of stuff. The education, meaning your undergraduate degree, do you have at least a 3.0 GPA, your work experience, your experience with kids and leadership experiences, general questions that we need just to fill out for our information, and then again, the essay. So getting through steps 1 through 10 should not take you too long. The essay is going to be the part where you're going to want to save and then be able to write it down maybe in a Word document, make sure it's grammar and edited and read through, and then copy paste it into your essay box. The review button just helps us know if there's anything missing. It'll have a red line underneath it, so you can go back and see what the missing documents are. If you have any concerns or technical issues, I will always say email admissions@urbanteachers.org, so our tech team and our admissions team can get back to you as soon as possible and see what the error is within the application. So it's pretty straightforward, clean, and easy. Just make sure you take some time for that essay and you meet our eligibility requirements. Step 2, so you will hear back from us within 5 to 10 days if you've made it past an application stage, and we do invite you to complete a digital performance task. It'll take 45 to 60 minutes to complete. I do encourage you to do this 1 to 2 weeks before your final interview date that you wish to attend, and we do give you 2 articles to read prior to doing the task, 4 video responses, and 2 written responses. Some tips I have for you to get this done is we actually have a practice digital performance task. I don't look at it, I don't review it, but it looks exactly like the digital performance task that we're asking you to do. So a lot of people have been pretty uncomfortable to go into this digital world and do an interview and not really get to see or meet any candidates or any staff members in the digital performance task. So we created a lot of videos for you guys to meet our residents, our teachers, our CEO does an introduction, and we give you a couple of practice rounds for you to be able to feel as comfortable as possible to do it. We have such success with this. People feel way more comfortable because you do have the 3 minutes to prepare. You can take notes on the side. Make sure that you give examples and steps to support any responses that you have to our questions. We just get really better answers, and you actually can see the excitement behind a candidate's eyes when they are recorded some of their videos. The one other trick I will say is that the practice one looks very similar to the actual one, that sometimes we do find that our candidates feel like they finished the real one because they've done the practice one. Make sure you actually go back into the system and start the real digital performance task if you do choose to do the practice one. The practice one will complete. It'll send you a final email just like you would get it if you were doing the real experience. So make sure you complete the practice, go back to your email, and start the real one when you're ready. Once you get through the digital performance task, we ask you to sign up for an in-person interview. So while you're waiting that 5 to 10 business days for us to review your digital performance task, I would actually take the time to find your unofficial transcripts, get them from your online computer system at your schools, have them mail it to you if you need to. So use that time wisely to get your unofficial transcripts. Depending on the school, it could be incredibly easy or incredibly tough. So definitely think about how difficult that pathway will be for you to make sure you step up and get those done on the earlier side. We also ask you to submit contact information for 2 recommenders, and that's just a name and an email. And then they fill out a really quick form. It takes them about 5 to 10 minutes to complete. So we're not looking for letters of recommendation, but really a form for them to say good, fair, excellent on a couple of attributes that we're looking for in our candidates. Once we get those 2 things uploaded and saved in our system, you're going to be able to select an interview date. We ask that you guys try to do this at least 1 week before the final interview day. You need to give yourself a day or at least 3 hours to prepare for this interview. So the earlier that you get through step 1 and step 2 with the digital performance task, the more time you can actually take. Maybe give yourself a weekend to really prepare for the final interview day, because there's a lot of preparation that's required when you come to our final interview day. So I will say sign up for any interview at least 2 days before the interview day. We close them off the day before, but if I was really going to give you some tips, I would say give yourself at least a week or 2 so that you give yourself a full day to build the lesson plan, to practice it with your friends, to find the resources or tools that you want to be using in your lessons, because there's a lot of preparation that goes into the interview days, and you're most successful if you're not racing for time. So here are some of the upcoming interview days. We have the next one coming up is in Baltimore and in Columbus, Ohio. You can see the time frames. They're usually around 4 to 5 hours that you'll actually have to be in the interview process, and I'll go through some of the steps in a second. But these are all the options that are currently available for you. So you have to pick out of these certain dates which ones are the best for you. We have been going since September, so we are getting to a little bit limited of places for us to be able to host final interview days, but there's always going to be virtual opportunities if Baltimore, DC, Dallas, Fort Worth don't work for you, or you don't see a city that's close to you, or that date doesn't work out for you. Please look at the virtual options. We hold them very similar to a real in-person experience, although we would love for you guys to come and meet us in person, especially in DC, Baltimore, and Dallas, Fort Worth, so that you can meet our residents, see our teams, and get a little bit of an in-person experience of what it looks like to be in our program. I'm just going to hold for a second so you guys can look through that. And then attending an in-person interview. So it takes around 3 to 4 hours to get through it. You need to prepare a 5-minute lesson. We have articles for you to read. And then you also have a one-on-one interview where you'll do a classroom management scenario, a role play, and basic interview questions. So the mini lessons and the articles, when you read them and discuss them with the other people interviewing the space, will all be part of the group interview. And then we set up 30-minute time slots for you guys to do the individual interview, which is the role play questions and classroom management scenario. When you do get invited to an interview day and you pick your day, we send you all the materials that you would need to prepare. So there's tips included in there. There's a template with a checklist for tips for the mini lesson. There's practice. I want you to practice with your lessons with family, like I was telling you, but you can also review all the instructions for each part and how to best prepare. So there's a ton of links and documents that we have. The more time you give yourself to prepare, the more successful you can be in the final interview day. I also host a final interview day webinar for tips for success for each of these stages. So I know this is a general for selection process, but I also go into each of these stages and what's tips I have best for you to be successful. We love meeting you guys at interview days. Once you get to this part, we really do want you to join our program. So this is not a I got you sort of moment, but we definitely want to give you the most that you can to do to prepare. And then we just really are hopeful that you will prepare and give your best and enter through the program with the tips that we do give you. So read all the materials, use the lesson plan template. You do need to submit that to us. Use the tips and the checklists that we do offer. They really are helpful to make you successful at the end of the day. So who do we seek? We seek people who have a good fit to urban teachers, which means that they're committed to urban communities and children and youth. They want to be that teacher in a high needs school. They also are committed to that 4 years. Achievement orientation, that could be something as easy as being able to get through a JHU master's program, meaning you have a high GPA, you're highly academic. And it could also be an idea of being able to persevere through challenges and being able to, no matter what, make sure that you reach your goal. Growth mindset, again, we've talked about, is something that's huge for our program. We are constantly growing and learning from each other. So we do need people that are incredibly receptive and excited to get feedback, especially from people that have been teaching in these school districts for many years. So having that growth mindset, giving your best, and then reflecting on how you could do better are really great candidates for our program. And then professional skills, making sure your grammar, spelling, checks are good, that you're coming on time, that you're fully prepared. You put all these things together, we can make sure that you're a great teacher in classroom and teach you how to be that great teacher, but these are the things that we look for in our selection process to help make sure that we can work with you in order to be great. So checking out our resources, we do have a resource webpage, www.support.urbanteachers.org. It has the application and interview tips, like I mentioned. It has webinars that go into the general program descriptions, the finances, meeting teachers in our program, a Q&A. It has the eligibility requirements if you are worried. We do take certified teachers into our program, but on a limited measure. So if you have teaching experience, you might not be eligible for our program, but if you have a teacher certification and still want to give that year residency, you could be eligible for our program. So looking at those specific eligibility requirements could be helpful. We have frequently asked questions. We give a ton of financial aid options. You already know about the Siegel Award and that opportunity. There's others like the loan forgiveness from the federal government or the Teach Grant. So we do have a list of options that you can consider as you are considering joining Urban Teachers. We have 2 more deadlines. March 27th is our deadline and May 1st is our ultimate last deadline. Again, I do encourage these deadlines if you do need a date to hit submit, but I challenge you to go back to that interview dates options and make sure you backtrack it to at least 3 weeks before this interview day so that you can get through the application, get through the digital performance task, and have enough time to prepare for a final interview day. So if you did wait until March 27th, you would miss all of these options to do an interview day. So if you need a date, March 27th is a great date to complete your application. But if you are really aiming towards a specific interview date, like Los Angeles is a one-time opportunity on April 3rd, I would suggest that you complete your application as soon as possible. I'm not sure there are any questions, but if you do have questions, you can always email admissions@urbanteachers.org. If I can get out of this screen, yes, I might be able to pull up the website with all the information that we have on the Help Center. So the Help Center, you can see the application tips, FAQs, webinar. There's a search box. I'm not sure you can see this stuff yet, so I'm going to put it here for you. There's a ton of information that is available for you guys to be able to search yourselves if you have any questions. If you go on to urbanteachers.org, you will be able to ask somebody a question. There should be a box that pops up in the corner that will let you go through it. Let's see. Here, let's chat. So you can put your name, your email, any questions you have, if you have an attachment you would like to add. This is the front page, but I'll go to the main page that I work off of, which is the Apply Now page. So if there is any information that I did miss here, you can sort of walk through the steps of becoming an urban teacher. So learn more, submit an application, digital performance tasks. So all of the stuff is here for you guys. The 2 next deadlines are there. There's a link right here to apply. If you are interested in the program and you want to have, if you have more questions, you can fill out this easy form and we can have a recruiter get back to you. And then there's a link directly to the help center for you if you need to ask yourself a specific question and you really want to work through it yourselves. The other last thing I did want to add before I do turn this off is the events page. So thinking about any of our events or webinars that we are hosting in the future, these are all the fairs and events you can see that might be close to you. So today, right now, we're doing the selection process overview with me, Prathima. We have a Howard Fair, so you can go through all the lists and see the dates and the times of all the events that we have across the country and sign up and go show up and attend and talk to a recruiter on campus. So there's definitely many opportunities to learn more. We hope that you are interested in starting an application. There's an apply now up here as well. And then a nice reminder that March 27th is our next deadline. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We are always happy to schedule a phone call and walk you through the process and encourage you to get through the application. Thanks. Have a great day.